What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Instagram Collectors Interview Series, episode 6. We are going to be having a flower-themed episode because my buddy Chris, who has been on here before, is coming to join me. It's really a pleasure, if you think about it, to have somebody who collects the same player but is willing to work with you, and it's not a competition like I think a lot of other people are used to. So I hope you're excited to hear from him. I know I am. Chris, welcome. How are you?
Hey, thanks for having me back, bud. Good to be back.
Yep, absolutely. Happy to have you on here and happy to probably have the easiest conversation about a player that we collect, being that it's the same player. But, with that comes all your experience that you've had over the many years. If anybody wants to go back and look at some of your old YouTube videos, I mean, you did some pickups, and it was interesting because you go back and see what was popular then when he was on the Penguins, and those cards are just as popular now, but like, um, do you looking back and kind of like looking to when you first started collecting and looking to now as you're collecting, do you still look back on those memories fondly? And when you're looking through your cards, kind of remember like, oh yeah, I remember when I got that. I remember when I got this and all that stuff.
Yeah, I pretty much remember most of every time I got a card, but I remember all that like it was yesterday. Just totally having fun with it. I never really took it anywhere. I was just kind of messing around, and that was something I wish I would have taken more seriously. But those were my college days, and I was kind of just pulled everywhere else. So you can see why I got distracted.
Yeah. Yeah, it happens too, especially when, you and me and everybody else, it's so hard to just collect one player. Even look at Al, for instance, who was on here earlier, episode 2. His Jerome collection is otherworldly, yet he's got an amazing Bossy and Iserman collection and some other little, player collections in there. I think it just goes to show that sometimes sometimes we can get pulled away because there's so many other fun sports or in your case Magic the Gathering, which is very popular and offers a whole new aspect of collecting. But let's focus on the flower, because that's why we're here. That's what we love to collect. Amazing person, we all know that. Off the ice, on the ice, an amazing teammate. But you look at this season, and it's sure been a down and up season. We're going to call it a down and up season for him. How are you feeling about how he's performed with the Wild this year?
You know what? I haven't really been able to watch as much as I would like, especially with him being in Minnesota. I rarely get to watch Pens games anymore. I know it's been rocky. I really wish he could find a home and everything could just work for what people think they're getting, because they are getting a great goaltender. But they think he's just going to come in there and turn the franchise around on his own, and it's not the case. Right. But I know he's 5-0 in his last 5 starts. Both the goaltenders have been playing amazing in the last month. I think, with the rough start, turning it around right now at this point in the year is a good thing. So promising going into hopefully a playoff run, and see what they can do with that goalie duo.
Yeah, Gustafsson has been a pleasant surprise, but I mean, with the way that the year started off, Flurry had a couple of really tough games. I mean, I was like, oh my gosh, he's going to have to retire. But it shows his resiliency, man. And we were both talking about it. He's like, what is he doing there? What is the point of all this? But he bounced back and had some great games. And then after the break, it was a little rough for him. And Gustafsson was playing lights out. But they went back to basically splitting starts. And I think that's great because they're both fresh. They've both been playing really well. They both are supportive of each other. Especially for Flurry being 37, or is it 38 now?
38.
Yeah, 38. Yeah. He's working towards Patrick Waugh's second place spot in the all-time wins list. I believe he's 10 away now.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he's going to get there this year. He'd have to play a lot of games in a row and win a lot, but it's looking really good that he can continue playing. I think for me, my only thing, I wish social media didn't exist. I totally understand why he doesn't get on there, because even the dogs disagree with me. The fans in Minnesota are brutal. They are absolutely brutal and unappreciative of who he is and what he's done. And, Gustafsson will have like 3 bad games and people are like, it was okay. He'll be better. Flurry has 1 bad game. This specific dude on Reddit, he should be out of there. Why is he even on this team? What a waste of cap, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, the average fan nowadays definitely doesn't understand the legacy that he's built and who he is and what he does for his team. And I think those things matter a lot. I mean, why do you think people miss that so much with him nowadays?
You know what? Goalies are natural scapegoats anyways. So I can't tell you how many times, even just watching Crosby and Malkin have games where their names aren't even called, and your goalie can stand on their head and lose the game, and it's still their fault. But
Right.
like you said, the average fan doesn't really appreciate Fleury, but even the team, they know what they have there. And you already mentioned both the goaltenders, they get along, they play off each other. And, if you remember 2016, 2017 cup runs, that took 2 goaltenders to win those cups. Like Minnesota's definitely got a talented team out front. It's going to take 2 goaltenders, and especially having Marc-Andre in the locker room, that's going to teach the younger goaltender, hey, this is how you handle this stuff. He's doing his job. He's going to have some bad games. People forget he's had a lot of personal issues, much like every other player has. But being in net is going to, put the spotlight on him and amplify that. And that's,
Definitely.
Again, we're a little bit biased, but when I look at any goaltender, that's exactly how I think is, yes, they let the goal in, but it's not just their fault. And everybody deals with the same stuff. And, he's been here for 20 years.
I do want to point out to the 2 people that are listening now and the rest of the people that are going to watch this later, I looked up because I knew Vasilevski had some rough games lately. I went and looked up their stats this year. Vasilevski is just like a shred better than Marc-Andre. Now just think about that for a second. I compared the 2 of them earlier this year on Twitter, and some guys like, don't you dare compare the 2 of them. Like, why not? Like, they're both basically playing at the same level. Well, because one's older, like Craig Anderson basically proved that 41 years old means that you can still play hockey.
Yeah.
So, and Marty Brodeur did it late in his career. Like other goaltenders have played at 38 and done very well. So people get so caught up in things that are not what should define this player. The way they're playing should define them. And, it's just really interesting to think about that. If I were to say that right now, that Andre Vasilevski and Marc-Andre Fleury are basically playing at the same level up at this point in the season, people go, oh, no way, Vasilevski's like the greatest goaltender in the league right now. No, Olmark is this year, but they're playing similarly, So I think it's just we live in a society where credit is so hard to give out to some people. I think as teachers, we understand that, if you're going to get criticism, it should be well-deserved, not just because of some predetermined thing that these fans are coming up with. So I'm really pleased with where he's at. And, next question, just looking at the market, that is really interesting. We're seeing a new influx of collectors. I'll throw some names out there because they're in this Facebook group that I would love to have you in one day again. But there's a family with the last name Creasy. The son plays goaltender, the mom and the daughter, all 3 of them are collecting Fleury together. So you got 3 people all working as one trying to collect him. You've got Kendall, you've got you, you've got me, you've got Kirby, who I believe is listening right now. And then everybody else who likes goalies and likes Fleury just because he's cool. So you got this whole new group of people that are coming in. Why do you think it's happening now? Because if anything, we would think, as we've talked before, that the market would be going down for him because his popularity isn't as high as it used to be. So what's the deal?
Yeah, no, I do need to get back on social media, but I stay off it for the reasons that we already mentioned, right?
I don't blame you. I don't blame
all this
you.
silly, but no, again, he's been in the league for 20 years. He's got a solid following there. He's been consistent. While he's been on nice teams, he's not always had amazing teams in front of him doing all the work for him and making it easy. He's played well consistently. Obviously, the personality's there. He's a likable player, and he's got one of the best nicknames probably. So you factor all that together over his tenure in the league for 20 years, he's going to attract some fans. And while we want it to be calming down and cooling off in the market, that's actually just stirring it up. As soon as a price drops maybe $10, you have a number of people who are ready to jump and say, okay, it's coming down to my range. And then we just drive it right back up. Because collectability-wise, like we know, you have your Hasek, your Brodeurs, your Waz. They're all sought-after goalies, and people will pay top dollar for them. But, Fleury's a great goaltender, one of the greatest of all time. Wherever you want to put him there. But he's also likable, so it's just like he's got so many factors that drive that price up. And unfortunately, you and I are realizing that it's not going to cool off, especially with him coming toward retirement. they won't
Keep
be
going.
making as many cards, and then when they start
Right.
back up, everyone's going to be hungry for it, and we're going to be right back in the same boat as
Right.
when COVID started, or whenever he went to Vegas, where when he got that injection, that new fan base, the market.
Oh my gosh. Went crazy, man.
Went
Absolutely crazy. I mean, it was like it kind of dropped off there at the beginning and then went crazy. But, it's really interesting to look at, like, who are the most popular goalies that are collected right now. Still, Carey Price gets put just about everything in Upper Deck, and I get it because a lot of these sets were done at the beginning. The checklists were made before last season started, before we found out about his injury and all this other stuff that was going on in his life. So he's in there. Vasilevski, those are the two that make it in like every insert set, those two guys.
Yeah.
One of them I totally get. The other, it's popularity, right? He's and he's most popular Canadian goaltender, and he plays for that team. So I think, though, if you look now and you look at the top sell, he outsells everyone in the league right now, even rookies. He's outselling everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So you look at just the market of cards alone, you're going to see the proof is in the pudding, right? Like he is the most popular. So I get it. And I also think, like you said, he's not in everything. So people are trying to get his stuff. And man, when Artifacts came out and some of those were his first Minnesota autographs. I mean, those were, hot out the gate, and they've kind of cooled off as all releases do. But it's been very interesting to see that popularity continue to rise.
Yeah.
And man, when he retires and all these Penguin cards come out, it's going to be really fascinating to see how that's received. If it's, going to be expensive, if it's going to be cheaper. But I think, like I said, I'm actually kind of surprised that we don't see more of him. And that's not my selfish collector speaking. I mean, I'm glad that I can save money on the cup this year, but I'm really surprised that we don't see, more of it, because he sells for the most. So do you think that's going to change now that he's in Minnesota? Because I kind of have a feeling he's going to start getting thrown in a bunch of stuff. Like Pecorine was the same way. They put him in everything, his last year or two.
Yeah. Again, I think they were making room for some of the younger goaltenders, some of the younger talent to come through, but he's been in so much stuff over the years. We have been spoiled. Whenever he gets his legend status and they start printing the pen stuff, I'm going to be in more trouble again, because it's been a nice break for me. I'm not really fond of the Vegas or Blackhawks or Minnesota stuff. I'll get a couple of them whenever it's appealing to me. But if he does end up probably next year being the year, if he's in Minnesota and he's going to retire soon, especially if he catches Waugh, they might be more inclined to put him in some stuff and send him off the right way, because then we're going to have 2, 3, 4 years before they start debating putting him in for the rest of his career in pen stuff. And I can see a lot of his all-time cards being stuff where he broke records, like the Vezina with Vegas, the Wins with Chicago, and then possibly retiring with Minnesota. Although I am in the boat of coming back to Pittsburgh for a game and retiring there.
Or a season, man. You know what I mean? Just like play for a season at 39/40 years old and go off as the backup for the team and see what happens. You got to play with those guys again. We've been wanting that for the last 2 years now. So.
And again, it's easy for everyone to call out goalies, but I don't know what's going on in here in Pittsburgh. But every time I talk to somebody after watching a game, it's just like, what happened? And it's just like, Jari happened. And it's just like, I can't call him out on anything. But I'm like, why are we not trying to upgrade a goalie?
They had their chance, you know what I mean? And I know it's an extremely hard job, but having a former Flyers player as our GM, I say our because I'm originally a Penguins fan, but I can't stand watching them right now. Marc-Andre Fleury should be on that team, and we shouldn't be talking about him being in Minnesota. That's just how I see it. It was the right move, but hopefully in a couple of years. But we talking about the market and stuff. It's very fascinating to follow. I did see a Young Gun sell for almost $500, and that was a legit sell. Yeah. But I did see another weird card, a bunch of zero bidders. But anyway, so we're seeing his Young Guns getting closer to 400 on average, where it was during the Vegas playoff run, right? That's where we're kind of seeing that. And so I'm feeling like the market is just below where it was when he won the Vezina. But for some of the bigger cards, I'm seeing some pretty significant sales. The Cup There was a Cup 101 Foundations tag autograph that was purchased. I don't want to say how much it was because I don't think it was public. I was told how much it was, but looking at that, I'm like, okay, you know, like we're seeing that and the Shield and some of those upper tier ones selling way up there. So, I mean, yeah, I don't know if we're going to see a recession on his prices anytime soon, but it makes it more exciting when you're able to find those cards that you've been chasing for years and years, you know?
Yeah, those higher end, low numbered cards aren't going to come down at all. You'll have to let me know that price that tag sold for, because I had somebody reach out with the booklet one, and I know what it sold for and what the guy bought it for, but he's not going to get that back anytime soon. But I am curious, like, who's paying what and who's going to make that move, because again, you start introducing, you know, retirement Hall of Fame status to it. What's that going to do whenever he has one or two booklets that are available and no longer getting cards made, or, you know.
Yeah. Well, I think we know that he's going to be happy to sign and do that kind of stuff. You look at a guy like Pavel Bure. I had you know, big Bure collector on here, and he talked about how tough it is, because like that, there's only one limited logo to go after, and there's only certain cards. He's not signing anymore. He's not even getting any cards anymore. So his stuff is super competitive and very pricey. I don't want to see that happen. So I'm you know, nobody from Upper Deck's probably going to watch this, but man, I'm begging them to continue putting him in stuff, because that would just create a really chaotic, you know, situation for a lot of us. But, you know, I'm sure we'll figure it out one way or another. But let's kind of dive into, you know, your collecting experience overall. You know, obviously the market's going to influence that, and how he's doing now and whatnot. But you talk about Instagram. You know, you said you're not on social media. You stay off Twitter and Facebook, just like Flurry. Great things come from that, things that you don't have to see. But what does Instagram mean to you? Like, what has it been like coming back into that community after, you know, being, I don't know how long you were gone for.
I started the account in 2016, and I pretty much just threw everything up there, and I didn't really have a style. I just kind of didn't describe anything. I just threw the pictures up, and I started trying to network, and it just wasn't what I wanted, what I expected or was hoping it would be, like, compared to now. It seemed like just a lot of young or immature collectors, a lot of people just trying to wheel and deal, and a lot of toxicity in it. So it's not that I deleted anything or disappeared. I just wasn't as active for a couple of years, and I came back right around the time I met you through eBay. Don't tell eBay.
Yeah, that's right. With the Reebok patch. Yep.
Yeah. So, but you know, coming back, it really has been pleasant and extremely rewarding just to be able to showcase the cards that I appreciate and share that, you know, with other collectors. Even if it's, I mean, obviously great to have a couple other Flurry collectors, but just seeing everybody's, you know, pages. And you guys have talked countless times about this being like a museum that you curate, and I absolutely love it, you know.
Right.
Yeah. So it's been a lot more fun. I know how to handle things a little bit differently now. Just who you let follow you, or who you follow, where you're not trying to get started to get your name out there. I kind of just go with it. If somebody follows me, or if I see somebody I like, I follow it. And it really just, it has been a complete 180 experience from whenever I started.
This is funny. I definitely got to show this. We've only negotiated about one card. Well, it wasn't really a negotiation, but it's one thing I do appreciate on this note, if I can comment on it. And I'll show Chris's page here again toward the end. But there's a card that Chris has, and I have it way up on my want list. But the thing that's really great is that it's not like, Chris, you've never, and this is what people should try to be like, in my opinion. You don't go, it's not for sale, stop talking about it. You say, here's where I rank this. If I ever get rid of it, I'll let you know, but I love this card a lot. And I don't ask about it anymore, because it's the same thing I would say. And that's really important when you're collecting, when you're friends with somebody who collects the same player. Every now and then, maybe you're like, hey, I really want this card, and you really don't like this card. So, you know what I mean? Like, can we do a swap of some kind? I'm sure we could do something like that if it ever came to that. But it's nice to know that, you know, you'll hear me out rather than just completely tell me to be quiet, or vice versa. You know, so it's how it should be between two people that collect the same player. Don't you agree?
Well, I understand where you're coming from, and I appreciate your enthusiasm. You're driving a lot of this community in the right direction. So when someone's excited about something, you don't squash that. You kind of just you go with it. Now you know how I feel about my cards.
Mm-hmm.
I've moved stuff that I wanted to move. That way, they got into hands where they'd be more appreciated than I could have. And we're going to lead into some of the other questions, but that's just been part of like narrowing down my collection. But this is definitely one of those cards where I absolutely love it too.
Right.
So, and I'm happy. I think we're what 3 or 4 of them are.
I know we're three. We're 3 of them are. Yes.
Yeah.
Yours, Daniel's, and Kendall's. Yep.
Yeah. So it's like I'm hoping the other 2 can pop up eventually because we talked about his market. Possible times for people to start moving things into his career, retirement, and Hall of Fame. Hopefully, a lot of things are going to start moving and changing hands whenever you're not able to watch games or hear him, for 3/4 of the year during the season.
Right.
But yeah, hopefully you can find one too. That way you have one.
I know that would be so great. Hey, Name, thanks for popping in, dude. Hope you're enjoying your evening right now. But no. So that's awesome. Thanks for bringing that up, Mitch. I appreciate that. So moving on past Instagram, which or sticking with Instagram, but like kind of looking back as Instagram being your kind of like your image of where you were at before you kind of got back in when he won the Vezina. And what do you think's been the biggest change in your collection of Marc-Andre Fleury from the moment that we met, which obviously was through some cards? All of a sudden, all these amazing Flurries pop up on eBay. I'm like, oh my gosh! And I made all these, as you do, I made these lower offers, and you reached out and said, hey, I think we both know each other from Instagram, and we just had a great conversation. But like, how do you think your collection's changed since then?
Collection. I've been obviously you met me when I was narrowing it down. I just wanted to appreciate what I had, and I wanted to share what I didn't necessarily need to hold on to. So really, it's just been narrowing down to whenever I look at my page, I can see everything that I absolutely love and share it with people. But yeah, it really Instagram is giving all of us a chance to not or have all of our cards out at all times. I mean, you guys have talked about that. Mitch actually just made a post, and I shared it with my brother, where he's really big on displaying cards in person, and I'm like, no, they're locked up, put away, like they'll never be out for a reason, and people can look at that. But it gives me a chance just to appreciate it without digging through everything all the time. And then just again share it with everybody. And I'm trying to find my aesthetic. Hopefully people appreciate how I put my cards out there. I have fun with it. But yeah, Instagram has been a great thing for us coming back into for me coming into the hobby, because I don't think people have all the time that they used to travel or find stuff, because the internet wasn't always around. And it's convenient. It really is convenient. How often would we be able to network with people the way we have? I'm not digging online through threads anymore. People were messaging me, we're networking. It really has just changed the entire game and flipped it. So I think Kelvin was talking about whenever he got on, just how nice it is to, share all of this with people and have everyone reach out and talk.
Right. No, and that networking is huge. We've talked about it. I bring it up all the time. I think it's anybody that's watching now, anybody that's on Instagram, some of the guys that we associate with, the guys and gals that we associate with, understand how important that is. And nobody's collection on there is as impressive as it is without, the community that we're a part of. And it's good to know that you take that really serious too. I think it's good to be thinking about how you're going to be presenting your collection and how you're going to be presenting yourself. You know what I mean? You want to be somebody that is easy to deal with, and you're very, we did a couple of things, and then we did the thing where you got the limited logos and you sent me some cards. I mean, it was just very easy. And that's, kind of like laying the groundwork. Like, this is how it should be. So when it's not like that, when I'm talking to people and I'm trying to work out a deal, sometimes it's just smooth like that. And sometimes I'm like, man, I feel as teachers, we get into that mode where we're like, this is a learning moment right now, but can you really, to another adult, present it that way? So thanks for being, an example. Because I think that's anybody that's ever worked with you knows that it's pretty straightforward, and either take it or leave it. There's no, too much back and forth. Like, what you want to pay for it. I know what I want to pay for it, and we just make it work. So
Yeah.
it's been nice. So I'm curious, what were some of the criteria to narrow it down? You mentioned you narrowed your collection down. On anybody that has watched Kelvin's episode where he really is narrowing down to 50 cards, maybe 100 cards,
Yeah.
minus a bunch of binder stuff that's been fun when he was a kid. What was your criteria when you broke the cards out during his Vesna season and you were looking at, like, I still look at that Reebok patch card and I'm just like, oh, I love this card so much.
Yeah.
But like, what was your criteria that allowed a card like that to end up on the chopping block?
I mean, honestly, it's just, did I love it, and like I said, would somebody else appreciate it more? Because I definitely could have held on to it. That was numbered out of 4 in one part of
the. Yeah, and Kendall has the other 3.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So I'm glad you took it off eBay before he saw it.
Yeah, no, it really just turned into, like, I know I've heard it again on plenty of your chats, but like quality over quantity. I didn't want to have multiple storage units or safes of cards stashed everywhere, and I just really wanted to just narrow it down to one. I don't say I want to go under 100. I don't even count my cards, to be completely honest, because I just don't want that to be what I'm about.
Yep.
But I just, again, if somebody else would appreciate it more, I try to narrow it down to that. I try to, hold on to the ones. I do have a couple whales. I do have some of the big rookies that I want. And I try to just, if I was moving something, keep that top one stuff or what I was looking for in mind. So a lot of unloading was to load up and get ready for whenever I hopefully will find some of this bigger stuff later on. Because like we discussed already, it's going to cost us a pretty penny. It's not going to be the back in the day $50 for a nice card.
Don't remind me.
Like I remember limited logos back when everything was coming out 15 years ago. You can get a limited logos for $50, $75.
That is nuts.
I mean, even whenever I was unloading, I got rid of 3. I need 4 limited logos now. I got rid of 3 of them. I already had them, and I got rid of them just because I like vertical cards more than horizontal cards. So and then when you start looking at it, and it doesn't help that it's just blowing up and it's always in your face, where it's just like, yeah, you know what? I want all the cup cards again, and they do really have some of the best patches you can get. So it's like that kind of sucks. I got rid of a few of those, but no, I really just if I like the artwork, if I like the picture, if it fit my criteria for design, I'd keep it, and if not, I'd move it.
Yeah, I remember when you came up with your want list after you'd kind of purged some of the collection, and they're all the ones that I've got from you are safely either displayed or stored away and up on the website. But it is interesting when I looked at your want list and the aesthetic that you were going for. Obviously, the Fanimation was a big one. That was a super exciting day when you were able to win yours.
Yeah.
And knowing that we both paid around the same price, I was like, okay, like, I know I overpaid a bit, but I made a good friend in the hobby from buying that card. So I'm very thankful for that. But, just kind of looking at the cards that you were after, do you remember a couple other ones too, besides the Fanimation, that you targeted when you made that decision?
Oh, some of them didn't even make that first want list because Platinum Portraits in that Upper Deck Young Gun Tribute, the 2 that you shared with me right away, and I'm just like, dang it. Like, I was paying $300, $400 a pop for these cards right off the start of getting back into it. And that was exciting. It was exciting because it was like you hadn't seen some of this stuff in a while because he's been with Vegas, and the Young Gun Tributes, obviously with Pittsburgh, the Platinum Portraits, you can't really tell what team it is. So obviously an awesome set design anyways. So those were 2 right away that I was like, I got to throw these up here.
The Platinum Portraits was a really exciting one because I believe you found 2 of them, and you were able. And again, when we're after these big cards, one thing that we do, and I don't know anybody else that's in here does the same thing, but we often will hit each other up and say, okay, where are you thinking on this? What are you thinking price wise? And if we're within the same kind of realm, then I'm like, okay, that's what I'm targeting, because a couple times these cards have come up and came up and we're like, that's I don't think, man, that's 500 is too much for a Platinum Portrait. So yeah, that's been really nice that we're able to kind of help each other figure out what's a fair price on some of these bigger cards. I call them like the chase cards in every product, but like the PMG green, I was very much curious where it was at, but we both were talking and we're like, got to be in this range right here. And it was, so it's nice to know that we can at least figure it out now, as opposed to 5 years ago. Who knows what it would have been? That PMG green probably would have been like $50.
Yeah, that was one of my big hobby lessons right there. Was even getting the Sapphire at a 50. I kicked myself over that one because I always tell myself like I'm gonna have time to get it, be patient, and the market just wasn't what it was then. So now I've learned that, and I'll jump on the stuff whenever it comes up because you can't sleep on it. And if I don't absolutely love it, I got to pass on it because this isn't my only hobby. I have other hobbies, and staying focused on what I absolutely want for Flurry is going to help me get those big ones when it comes along. Because I can't, not can't, but I don't want to be distracted by other stuff that I don't absolutely need.
Right.
Because again, I don't want to hoard everything, and I don't want to hold things back from other people having it in the collection. If they're going to appreciate it or enjoy it more, and it's not going to help me every time $30 for a card, $140 for a card, $300 for a card. That's money that I could put toward, even if I have to overpay for one that I really absolutely want. If I have to pay $600 for a $500 card, I will do it.
Right. That's good to think. That's good thinking, though, right? Because many of us, myself included, buy $20, $30 cards, and those add up really fast. And all of a sudden, there's the big card. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, and you've reiterated it in the past where, are these cards that you can double back on and get later, or is this a card that you absolutely have to buckle down and get?
Yep.
And like we get into that range, even now we're seeing it at a 25. We're starting to see them become tough to get.
Yeah.
Some of the ones that are out of 10 or out of 5 or even a 101 that may pop up, I want to be ready for it. And
unless you're at dinner when a high gloss is ending. Yeah, you remember that? Yeah, last week. But I mean,
I know exactly where it was.
Yeah. But that's been really fascinating to follow. I think a high gloss is because every player's got one, more or less, right? Every player. Most every player. So you look at that being like the gauge of where these players fall in line. McDavid is what, $200 probably?
Yeah.
150, I don't know, 180. Flurry's made his way, and I don't know if that Blackhawks one I bought, and the other ones went for that much too. So right around 90, but then down to 40 or 50. So he's still in that, his first Minnesota one, which is going to be coming out in 2 weeks. He's got to be in series 2, but I think that'll be interesting to see what that ends up going for, because I don't want it to cross the $100 threshold, right? Because then he's in the upper echelon of players.
You've already been hinting toward that. He's the most collectible, it's the most popular set, and it's his first time with Minnesota. So all three of those factors are going to get it probably close to $100.
Yeah, and that's good to. I think maybe I already know that's the price I'll have to go for, but. I do want to give you a few minutes here to, and you can showcase as many as you want. But you talked about narrowing your focus. Do you have some of those cards with you that fit the bill that you went and grabbed after you purged a bit?
Yeah, got this one here. Now this is one of the ones where this just falls into neat, where like I absolutely love the card concept. So this was the carved in time that came out of the ingrained set from Upper Deck.
Right.
All right. Now, yes, it is a Vegas thing, and I try to stay away from them. But this was just a card concept that I absolutely love and appreciate. So, like, even with that said, I went ahead and I am hopefully, again, this will give me time whenever he retires and he has a few years where he's not getting cards put out. I want to continue to design and put together my custom set. So I actually made my own Flurry for
That
Pittsburgh.
Is so cool. That is so darn cool, man.
So just having, that custom card where I appreciate the Vegas one, but it's like now I have a Pittsburgh one. So just having the access and the ability to make that,
And you literally you were able to duplicate that design almost to a T. That's very impressive.
Yeah.
Very, very impressive.
So, there's plenty of graphics editing programs out there, and I'm fortunate that I teach one of them and know how to use it. And then I have the equipment and the machine to laser engrave. I can't tell you how many. So anybody who works in a lab or a scientist, like I had so many attempts to perfect this to the point where I absolutely enjoyed it.
How many times did you get it? Did it take to get it right?
I'm ashamed of how much wood I used, but I went through at least probably 20 to 30 cards of just engraving them. And some of the ones that were close, the kids will see it and they're like, "Oh, can I have one of those?" Like, I'd hand them out because all the kids like you, they all know I'm a Flurry collector. I do a lot of my projects in class based around Marc-Andre and the Penguins. So whenever I had some of these designs that were closer to what I enjoyed or liked, I would just hand them out because the kids appreciate all that stuff too, just as much.
Very cool.
Obviously, like we'd already talked about, Fanimation. Absolutely love throwback cards or retro tributes, anything like that. So whenever I was narrowing everything down and deciding, hey, what direction do I want to go? Again, another Vegas card, but I absolutely appreciate this one. And again, I tried to recreate my own Pittsburgh Fanimation for my custom set, but you're not going to beat the Welcome to Las Vegas sign.
Well, and fun fact about that, while you're holding it up, Billy did mention we had him on the round table last year, and he mentioned he had to work really hard to get them for Upper Deck to say yes to putting the Vegas sign behind Flurry. That was a really big deal.
Now, why is that? Is that the stigma?
Yeah, there was some reason. I don't know if Upper Deck didn't want him to do it. I'd have to go back and listen to it, but it was definitely not a yes out the gate. It was a lot of work to get it done. So it makes me appreciate that card, just those little tidbits. But yeah. I'd love to see the one you came up with again, because we did briefly see it on your account. But
yeah.
All right, so I'm curious the route that you went. This is really, really cool.
Now, I mean, again, another editing program. I just use filters on filters to take a real picture and edit it to the point where it looked like a cartoon. Took the backgrounds, a lot of messing with the colors and the filters as well. But I wanted him with the igloo. Like, we've been spoiled. Right. We've been spoiled here in Pittsburgh with Console or PPG Arena, but they won their own 9 Cup in the igloo. So it's just like I wanted one of the 2009 Flurry in front of the igloo for a Fanimation, but we hadn't gotten one, and then we got the Vegas one, and it's just like, well, hopefully, they still will make one. But
that'd be awesome. I hope they do.
I wanted that concept, so I just went ahead and made it. I like how it turned out. Well, the color, you're never going to match that color from the Vegas one.
No,
but
it's impossible.
Yeah, I wanted to have that one, and got the UPMC building in the background with the igloo, and I got a really good solid picture of Flurry from the 09 season. So
well, I gotta say that I think Kodiak Cards, I got to give him a shout out. He went and made and you've seen this. I think you did yours after you saw this, if I'm correct. But he made that one for me, and
yeah,
I have a lot of appreciation for doing this kind of stuff. I would love to learn how to do it myself. But I have to say that knowing how much thought you put into yours, we definitely have a little bit more of an appreciation for card design. I think that is something that a lot of collectors take for granted in general, just because it's not easy to do it, and all the thought that goes into it, and not everyone hits home.
Yeah,
as we saw with the guitar pick. Mitch, if you're still watching, we need to get that video out. It should be viral. Did you see that, Chris?
Yeah, I saw that one.
That was awesome. But I think in general, it's really neat. I think it adds an extra layer of enjoyment with your collection when you can go back and you look at these cards and you go, man, that card was just so well designed, especially with the cup, right? When we look at all of our cup cards. Oh, you did? Okay, good. Can you send a link in the chat or something? I gotta show people that thing. It's hilarious. Awesome. Do you have, and I know you talked about the platinum portraits. I feel like there was at least 1 or 2 more that were way up on the want list out of the gate, and you were able to obtain those, right?
Possibly. The clear canvas, is that what you're referring to?
We can take a look at that. Yeah.
I have to find it here.
And your latest Penguins Limited logo ended up being good, because if I remember correctly, there was one that went for really high, and then there was like a napkin patch. It was all white, and you stayed away from that one, and then it ended up working out great that I ended up upgrading them. And the one that I sent you, I think, is still pretty good, right? It's a 3-color.
Oh yeah,
so
I'd have
That
to
worked
find
out really well.
that one. It's buried down in there. I kept all the cup stuff sealed up still.
That's good.
Again, another Vegas card, but and this is you know what? A lot of these cards recently, I have you to blame because you know definitely black and gold kind of all the way, but here you have that solid mask, the grin, the blue ink with this. It just on top of the canvas. I really enjoyed this concept and this design of this card. And this was another one that you pushed really hard. So one popped up. I don't normally pay attention to serial numbers, but I do enjoy the number 21. So that was also a big kick here. And then some of these ones, the autograph is off center, and that actually kind of bothers me a little bit.
Or faded. They fade very easy.
Yes, and that's another reason why I don't keep any of my stuff out. So again, Mitch, putting that out there today. I don't keep any of my stuff out for a number of different reasons. But that was another big one where finding it centered, not faded, was huge for me. So again, not jumping at too many cards, but definitely that was one I was willing to spring for.
What? Oh, go ahead.
No. Which one? Because I have two more here that I had just recently gotten. I'm really bad at posting everything that I get. I try not to let the Instagram, control. I will put stuff on there whenever I feel like it or think about it.
Right.
I did post one of these, and then the other one I kind of just put in a group shot. But like paying attention to sets that are frequent or even parallels, I really enjoy getting those. So this was one that's numbered to 100, and I absolutely love the design anytime I see it. This was the run for the cup.
Oh yeah.
This was the first Blackhawks card that I got of him. I got one more and then two more, so I should have a total of 4 Blackhawks cards in the collection when it's all said and done. But I do appreciate. I like the contrast that the red does give because I don't. We're not used to seeing the red in Pittsburgh. But then it's another solid one.
I mean, the green may be exciting because it carries the prestige of being a green, but that is one of the best looking in the picture they used.
Yeah.
Right, the media day shot.
Yeah. So, and I think anybody on here, anytime I ever comment on anybody's post, for the most part, I think 90% of the time, it's me babbling on about color matching. So it's the red on the red for me. I absolutely love. I appreciate PMGs. I love the parallels that throw in the colors, and then whenever it matches, it's just like I'm all about that life.
Well, we've only been lucky enough to get 2 of Marc-Andre from the retro set and these. That's it. He didn't get one last year. We've talked about that enough. But he didn't get him any of the other years because he had some up and down years when they were making those cool sets. So it's nice to be able to chase a PMG again. Not going to lie.
Yeah, this was.
Oh, yeah, there it is. I mean, I think you can probably do a little bit better, but overall, if you're looking for color and you want the yellow of the Penguins colors in there, that's pretty good.
No, this is solid. I really appreciate this one.
Oh yeah, dude.
It took you getting the eye to get that one here. So.
Oh well, and that just was the perfect situation. Some dude selling out, and he actually was very fair in his prices. But it's just nice to be able to help one another out. You're getting something. I got some cards you weren't excited about. Usually, most of it Panini. I was just like, I got to get every cool Panini card out there.
Well, I think when we first started talking, I told you Cup for the next couple of years, you're going to want to get into it. And Panini, that it was so hot when it was here and then gone. Nobody really appreciated it at that point in time, and now we miss it. I totally want it back. I love Panini.
Even like 3 sets, man. I would take 1 high end, 1 mid end, and 1 low end. I would be happy with it, no doubt. So yeah, just last question before we get into the questionnaire. I mean, looking forward to the rest of this year. Give me a couple goals that you would like to have achieved by the time we get to December 31st.
My goal, I already told you this too. My number one goal was to get one of my top 6, and I don't even think we made it halfway through January. And you hit me up, Black Lab on Instagram. Was moving this, and you knew it was on my list. Out of 99, one of my top goals was to get one of my top 6 cards, and I absolutely love this design. This was a card that I slept on. I have the non-autoed version, and I never really made it a point to get this one. And then over the last couple of years, you just don't see these cards anymore.
Right.
So getting this as one of my top 6, was huge. Other goals would just be, stay patient with everything that pops up, and stay committed to the and disciplined with my want list. But another big one that I'm really trying to move toward was the custom set, and just making custom cards, or even reaching out to artists and getting custom cards made. You have a number of cards there. I know Jamie Thomas was a big one.
He's amazing.
Where
he's
it just
amazing.
That kind of feeds into my appreciation for the design and the concepts of cards. I like to see different substrates, different mediums, different way cards are produced. So I really want to focus on custom stuff. So I want to reach out and get a number of hand drawn, sketched, painted cards. I did get one last year that I just have it here. Dummy for cards.
Great picture that he chose. He must have got that off of the Panini. What is it? What card has it on there? The certified, right? Out of 500. He must have cut it off that.
Some of his a lot of his Panini stuff has this card on it, or this picture on it, and then I don't think we know many cards that have that. So
none have that picture on there. Believe it or not.
So again, just being able to work with an artist and get that made, I'm stoked about that. So I really want to focus on custom sets, custom cards, on top of just staying focused on the want list. I have, again, a number of hobbies where I have to really, just be disciplined, still have fun with it. That way I appreciate everything I'm doing. And but hockey, it's focus on the want list and customs. Awesome.
Well, it's good to hear that you're staying focused and you're goal oriented. You motivated me to make a visual want list. Being a visual learner, it was a great way to see what I'm looking for and share with people what I'm looking for. You can say the card. Everybody can read that. Yep, there you go. I mean, he's got a. Can you put that up again for everybody?
Well, I think
this is how organized. Yeah, Chris
is happy posted. So,
I mean, that's the way to go. And so, yeah, thanks for being a motivator and making me do that. And it feels very, very good to cross off a card off that. Just when we were talking, I realized my number 11 most wanted, I had it in for almost a month, forgot to take it off there. So
yeah, cross it off.
nice to feel good, especially when it's that big of a card. But
yeah,
awesome, Chris. Well, thanks for kind of giving us a bit of a, I guess this is more of an update, but letting us know kind of where you're at and your experience collecting Flurry, and especially because you're going after very particular cards. You're not just buying everything a Marc-Andre. I'm not either, believe it or not. People have been so gracious in this community. I don't know how often this happens to you, but I'll get links to stuff. Anytime a big card comes up, like a purple Allure auto, I'll never buy it. It's a sticker. It's hideous. You know what I mean? For the price that I have to pay. But I'd really appreciate people doing that. And so it's nice to know that I can also focus in and let cards go. I think I'm at a point where I've let a lot more go now than I ever have, as compared to when I first got into collecting them heavily 2.5 years ago. So yeah. Feels good. It feels good when you actually do get some cards in, as opposed to just having them coming in a stream.
Well, I can't remember who it was mentioned something. I think it might have been the Russian rocket collector.
Doug, yeah.
He was like, I don't get a card in but one a month. And I'm like, I have dry spells there where I'm not getting cards in for 3 months, and then it'll happen where I get like 3 or 4 cards in a week. But, it's nice when stuff pops up. It's good to be ready whenever it does. I do get a number of people message me stuff, and I just tell them the same thing. Hey, I appreciate it, but I'm being focused here, and this is what I want. A lot of the people already know what my want list is because I'll send it to them when they ask. And I really appreciate people just looking out for us. Again, I don't do as much as I should because I'm not connected, and I'm not really looking for other cards. But, just – again, the network and people helping each other out really is what this community is all about. And it's, again, coming back into Instagram this most recent time, trying to just eliminate all the wheeling dealers, the flippers. That's been really good for just the experience overall coming back.
Definitely. Much respect to you if you can wheel and deal and you love doing it. But anytime I get a new follower and it says buy, sell, trade, I tend to not follow back unless I can see that they're a serious collector or player collector. So it's just better to be able to filter those things out and keep your experience what you want it to be. I think a lot of people on Instagram only follow buy, sell, trade people, and they just love wheeling and dealing. I had a funny experience. I think you were there. I was doing one of my most recent live Instagrams, not the one when I was in my bedroom, but the one before that, before I moved the stuff around in the living room. I remember I was sitting over there and I'm showing off. It was my top, I think it might have been my top 50 in the collection. It was that big one that I did. And this guy came in and a couple of kids came in. I want to say it was kids. And they came in like, hey, is any of that for sale?
Yeah.
It doesn't really work that way. But, it's been fun overall, and I'm glad that you're enjoying your time back. Well, let's hop into the questionnaire here. You of all people, being a teacher, understand doing these types of things for fun to get to know your class, and I think it's great that it's been consistent over all the episodes. So hopefully, you said you did. Hopefully, people have been going back and watching, and I thought it would be fun. I don't know what you think, but at the very end, to do like a compilation video of just the questionnaires all linked together.
Right.
Could be fun, but. Here's the first one. Looking at what Upper Deck's putting out now, what is your favorite card that they are putting into sets?
You know what? I Fanimation. I just appreciate the thought that goes into that design. It's another level of art. So I know I think this most recent year wasn't attractive. But again, I just like that layer of working with the card design and putting something different out there. Right. So I have the comic book background. I have the gaming design background. So whenever they bring that into sports, I really just and that's what it was built off originally, was the comic book basketball kind of design. So I appreciate what they bring to the sets, putting Fanimation in there. So that is one of those secrets. And again, whenever it first came out, I don't think I saw but one and completely missed it, because the first Fanimation I ever saw go for sale at Flurry was like $120, and that was obviously one of his first Vegas years. And I'm just like, that's pretty pricey for a Flurry card. I'm going to wait. And waiting, I never saw it again for years. And that's why we got to the point where we paid what we paid for it. And there aren't too many of them out there. But yeah, Fanimation for sure for me.
Okay. Yeah, let's hope. I was kind of slightly hopeful that when I saw all the Lake Tahoe ones coming out, that they'd have him in that mask that he's in, that he was in, and they didn't do it. Probably because they didn't want to put guys in that had never had one before. So a lot of respect to them for doing that. Name a card that, you showed your want list, but name a card that your collection needs.
There's a handful of them, but one that's been really bothering me lately, if anybody's online for it, is his Premier Rookie out of 99.
Oh, geez, that thing has been going crazy.
You know what? I've just never been able to settle on a price with anybody, and I wasn't too big on his rookies back in the day. I didn't have the network or the ability really to talk to people back then. So if it wasn't on eBay, I didn't get into it if it wasn't on there. But even as of late, everyone's overpriced, overhyped, realistic at the same time, but some of the more recent ones that have sold are way up there, and I don't know what the deal is with it, who's getting into it, who's flipping it, or like you guys say, holding it hostage. But I absolutely, even if it's not a game used jersey, it's comparable to a Cup rookie-ish, where I want it and I can't seem to get it. Even whenever I do want to overpay for it, somebody else is driving it way high. And it's kind of unrealistic, where I'm not gonna pay unrealistic prices for it, but absolutely want that card.
Good to know. How about name an account or two that when you get onto Instagram, you look forward to, like when you log on? Obviously, the ones that you interact with the most are going to be the posts that you see first. But is there an account or two, just off the top of your head, that you really enjoy what they bring to the community on there?
You know what? I've been getting a lot better at interacting. I'm kind of more behind the scenes kind of person, and I'm kind of coming out of the shell. There are so many accounts that I really appreciate and enjoy seeing. So I could list a number of them. Dedicated player accounts, even if it's not a goalie. I love the consistency and the aesthetic that people bring to their page. So seeing, just dedicated player pages, absolutely love it. Dedicated goalie pages. I know there's Tim Thomas collector, there's Jimmy Howard collector, Tom Barrasso collector.
Oh yeah.
There's Kelvin, there's Pix, I absolutely love seeing all the goalie stuff. Ron Hextall collector.
Mm-hmm.
But I collect football. I collect baseball to an extent. There's an account called Hobby's Best Cards, right, that showcases the big pools. So it's just neat to see everything mixed together. So I really appreciate Hobby's Best Cards.
And of course the triple logo man with Kobe, Michael, and LeBron on there. I mean, I'd say that's
you know what, and it's like, say what you will, and I have the same sense. I share that sentiment, but it really is. It's just nice to see all these cards in one place. So whoever runs that page, I enjoy seeing all this stuff put together and found for us and just showcased there.
Definitely.
But and even lately.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah, lately, crease collector Aaron, I'm absolutely loving his photography and his work setting up his pictures and what he's doing with his page.
Oh yeah, he's really kind of changed a little bit and not just posting the card, but he's doing a really good job with. He's
telling a story. He's taking a good picture. He's got the aesthetic to it. He's really having fun and enjoying what he's doing, and he's sharing that with everybody. And I really appreciate that. And I know everybody else. I hope when they see this kind of stuff, whatever accounts they're looking at, it kind of excites them or inspires them to kind of pick up their game a little bit, or even just try something different.
Right. Definitely. Yeah. Thanks for shouting all those out. There's so many good accounts out there. The list goes on for sure, but good. And everybody that's answered that question has had somebody different to say, so that's great. What card do you miss the most in your collection?
I think those 3 limited logos that I moved.
Yeah, that's pretty easy answer for that.
Yeah.
How do you find time, or what do you do to enjoy your collection? You mentioned you keep a lot of them in boxes still. Is it going on Instagram and looking through some of these pictures, or do you take time to get the cards out every now and then?
I'll get them out every now and again. I know whenever you and I talk, I hope you're one of the accounts that everyone looks forward to seeing. You know that, right?
Oh, well, yeah, but you don't need to say that. It's okay. I appreciate it, though.
That's why everyone's excited to come on and do this with you. But no, I'll get the stuff out whenever you and I talk. I'll look and see what I have, or specifically, because I don't have a detailed list of things yet like I used to. But for the most part, just getting on Instagram and just scrolling up and down the page real quick just to see, hey, love it, awesome, nice cards, really appreciate it. I try not to overdo it because I don't want to get to the point where Kendall has a pretty spot on name for his account and his collection or his website, My Possible Obsession, where it really is like in some form, but I try not to let that be the case. So I'll keep it's all locked away in a safe. I have it hidden away, but Instagram really gives me access just to be able to just go on, look at it, appreciate it, and then put it away.
Right. Awesome. What is a piece of advice you would give to a new or young collector coming into the hobby right now?
Network and do you. Just appreciate what you do and what you want to do. Don't be steered in a direction that you don't need to go to. So again, it's kind of the experience of figuring out who's who in the community. But whenever you can figure that out, definitely network with good people and learn from them. Awesome.
Yep, that's been along the same vein as most everybody else, and I'm glad that we're hearing that. Hopefully, it makes a difference to somebody. This is a perfect segue. What is your biggest pet peeve in the hobby?
You
I did. Yep, there she is.
You can make another appearance. This is Flurry.
Yeah, perfect timing.
Yeah, no. Biggest pet peeve. Oh wow. I'd have to say, if I have to pick one that really, I don't get too many cards anymore, but back whenever I do get a lot of cards, plain white envelopes with no hard case or anything like that.
Oh, geez Louise.
So again, I'm in the gaming cards too, and even if you get a $25, $50 card, I don't think it's expecting too much to have tracking in a bubble mailer.
Nope.
But whenever they're sending cards just in a penny sleeve and an envelope, it kind of really bothers me because especially whenever you pay for it too. But the condition of the card, if they have printing errors, that's one thing, but whenever it's just neglect and ignorance, you shouldn't have to deal with that. So plain white envelopes with no top loader.
Yeah, I know that. I think we can all agree to that one. Or I mean, just putting the cardboard on there with some painter's tape. You know what I mean? I think everybody that's in here right now, Mitch, Name, Alex just got in here. We all share that sentiment. And then when we send cards out, I mean, I don't go like crazy with the tape. Kelvin is the man with tape, by the way. Kelvin, whenever you watch this, you're not here now, but when you watch this, he is the tape master. Yeah. And it's like all the way around this way and all around this way. I'm like, I will never ever sweat getting a card from any of the people I've had on here and worry about it not making it safely unless it's the post office's fault. But I've seen some crushed envelopes and they make it because they're properly protected, and it goes a long way. So yeah, you can't reiterate that enough.
I've sent you boxes and I just bubble wrap and tape everything. And it's like, I don't know who's sending the stuff or who's even into it to have the stuff that they have. But why are you sending it like that? Like, what's not going through your head to ship this properly?
Yeah, you've done an amazing job. I mean, I think that goes without saying. I've done a couple of live mail days that are on. They're probably on my other YouTube channel that I used to do with all the hockey stuff, and I've opened those up on camera, and they're just like completely. It takes me 2 minutes to 3 minutes just to get into the cards, which that's perfect. That's how it should be. Yeah. So this is a tough one, but like looking ahead in 5 years, our guy's going to be retired, most likely. I think there's probably a 99% chance that would happen.
Yeah.
But what do you want your collection to look like at that point, 5 years from now?
Again, hopefully just able to cross some of the want list off. And then, he'll hopefully have legend status at that point. I would love to see more Penguin stuff in the market.
Yes.
I'd like to see them, if they're recreating stuff. I love the retro throwback tribute stuff. Absolutely love it. I would like to see them bring more of the, you mentioned Carey Price and AndreVasilevski get all the hobby love right now, where I'd like to see Flurry get into some of these sets where when you see a design, you're just like, oh, I absolutely love it. Is he on the checklist? No. I'd like to see him get on a checklist like that.
I feel like the NHL Passages was a slam dunk to have him in there. Yeah. It was a slam dunk, and they put Carey Price instead. Now, hey, I love the card. I almost bought one a couple times. But come on, guys. Like, that was – the set, I love that set so much, but hopefully, we'll see it again down the line.
Well, I think like we agreed on, I think they're making room for other players right now. Flurry's going to have his time. He's been around for long enough, and whenever he retires, we'll get more of it. So I think they're spreading that out right now, and they know that.
And we'll appreciate it even more when we do see him. Like when Extended, the checklist came up for Extended, and he was just all over that thing. It was so nice to have that feeling again, and hopefully, we both get to experience that again in the future. But the last one that's focused on you and your collection is when people meet you for the first time, or people like Mitch and Name and Alex who have met you before, and Kelvin and Alex, that young Flurry collector, like what kind of impression do you want to leave upon those people, new and, experienced collectors?
I think again, just that, hey, here's another collector that appreciates what they have. It's something someone we can learn from. Again, I'm trying to find, even still to this day, we're all experimenting with different things on here, and we're finding what we like and what we want to put out there. So if people find me online, I hope they just say, hey, there's another Flurry collector. And I wonder how many people see our accounts and then see how many of us are already linked together. Like, oh, hey, do they know Kendall? Do they know Matt? Do they know Chris? Like, I wonder how many people do that. But yeah, I think they get the point that I'm a Pittsburgh guy and I like Flurry. So,
right. No, I definitely figured that out when I first saw it, when the connection started happening. But here's Chris's Instagram account again, MAFlurry29 collector. Yeah, I mean, Chris, what you've done for the hobby and just showing your love for the player that you collect. And just being somebody who's easy to have a conversation with about anything. I just, if anybody has any questions about Flurry stuff, feel free to reach out to Chris. He's also an avid Magic the Gathering collector, and you've been to shows, and that, again, is going to be fun. I know I want to have a few people on here who have done some shows and just hear about some perspective before I go to the National. But, yeah, feel free to reach out. Chris, he's super easy to talk to, and is a very organized person too. Well, a fellow teacher in you, dude.
You know what's funny too about getting into gaming cards? Like everything I learned when I was young about sports cards,
Yeah.
they're just now getting into with gaming cards, like your one buddy's already talked about. So it's like being able to take everything I've learned from sports cards and bring it into gaming cards, and then take everything I've learned from gaming cards and bring it back into the sports hobby. It really does go back and forth, and I've learned a lot and been able to apply a lot of it back and forth. So
That's good.
they're just now starting to bring numbered cards into Magic the Gathering.
That's
and,
different.
and it's all the rage right now. So
Okay.
yeah, people are going crazy over it. I've been saying it for years. I'm like, as soon as they start doing parallels and numbered cards, we're in trouble. Here we are.
Right, it's happening.
Yeah.
Well, and Alan's talked about him kind of selling out to do it, but again, you got to keep doing things to bring collectors into it that are kind of on the fringe, and if they're coming from sports cards to Magic, that'll give them something to get excited about. So I get it. I totally get it. I'm gonna rephrase this question to you, because I've asked everybody else, what do you love about Marc-Andre Fleury? We've talked like crazy about this. So I'm going to say for you, when you look at the Flurry cards that you have, or even ones that you just appreciate, right? What types of pictures of Marc-Andre Fleury do you love to see on cards?
You know what? It really is just a variation of mainly, action. Probably the action, or, staring down a breakaway, getting ready for action. So as soon as he's getting ready to go down to the butterfly, absolutely love that. I like whenever you get a lot of him on the card. My OCD wise, it bothers me whenever parts of the players are cut off cards. I don't know if you look at other sports, but Brock Purdy's one of his rookie cards, and one of his feet are cut off blatantly in the middle of the card. That absolutely drives me up a wall. So I absolutely love seeing, mainly action shots of him all on the card. And I know you're a big fan of him smirking and smiling too, so that's a good one. Because as goalie collectors, we all appreciate the mask, so the pads and the mask. So whenever they get that up close shot, and then he's smiling like that, I appreciate those ones just as much.
Definitely. I'm really hoping that out of all the moments we've had this year from Fleury, when he stopped Patrick Kane and Jonathan Toews in that shootout that they won, I have the Kane one in my intro to some of my videos, but I hope that somehow that smirk where he's waving with the glove, like that shot gets on a card somehow.
Yeah,
that would be amazing. Okay, so that's it. Other than the last question, which has been pretty fun. Alex was so good. He asked before I got to it. But the question is, if you could ask me anything, what would it be?
Okay, so you've already done a lot for the community, and you always ask where we see our collections. Where do you see yourself in 5 or 10 years working with the community? What is what you're doing now going to look like in 5 or 10 years?
I think, once this whole series is wrapped up, in about 9 episodes, maybe 14 episodes, just the round table and having a group of people who are very knowledgeable, because there's so many influencers out there, and for good reason. Jeremy does a great job of getting people on there that are full of information, but having a show that people look forward to watching and can also learn something from. That was what the Essential Credentials was for. And we're still kind of doing it, but I think for the hockey side of things, that's where my passion is now, is that a collector who can come in and see the round table and see people who are all very different, who collect all different things, but have the same values in collecting that they share. And to just continue that, I've been so lucky to meet so many amazing, wonderful people, not in person yet. Can't wait for the national, because I think some of them I finally get to meet in person, but just to continue using that to build the community and keep me motivated in the hobby, because I have moments where I'm, frustrated if Fleury's playing bad, or I'm not seeing him get in sets, that I need things to keep me motivated, and doing those round tables and doing these really keeps me doing that. And hopefully in a bigger place where I can display my stuff properly. I got it jammed in my bedroom right now, and there's just not a lot of space, and that would be nice. Those two things.
No, I think a lot of people appreciate what you do. I know everyone shares that with you, so thank you again for that. I was just talking with my brother even today, telling him, hey, I'm busy tonight, don't bother me. And he has his hobbies. I'm like, what would you do if you had a weekly episode where people for an hour talked about your hobby? And this is something a lot of us look forward to. So again, to have someone motivated and driven like you to put this together, organize it, and do it, We really appreciate that. And again, I look forward to it whenever I get on here. I go through phases where I can hit it up and go through hours of your stuff. Lately, it's been really hectic and busy, and I caught up on a lot of it today, but I enjoy every episode, everything you do for it. So again, really appreciate that.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris. I do appreciate knowing that people are appreciating this. Alex and Mitch and Name have been really, really nice and sending me messages after episodes and commenting and hanging out. And that goes a long way. You know, obviously I do this because it's fun and because there's a lot of very interesting people out there that have these stories. And if somebody can learn something from each episode, I think that's great. You know, every single person that's been on here, I can guarantee there's something that even we can take away.
Yeah.
Any of us experienced collectors can take away from those episodes, whether it's saying, I want to make a new friend with this person, or I want to put my collection together like Kelvin and get it down to 50 cards, or build a website like Matt, or build a visual want list like Chris, or focus on the cup like Mitch. I mean, there's just so many people that have been on here that have already, you know, inspired or influenced me. So hopefully I can continue getting people on here to do that. I think that's the goal. And if anybody's watching and they're really interested and we've met each other, especially already, and want to come on here, just let me know. But Chris, thanks again for your time. As always, you and I sit and we can talk off camera for hours about collecting and Flurry and all this other stuff. But thanks for taking the time to come on here, and I look forward to having you on again in the future.
Yeah, sometime in the future. Again, me, you, and Kendall at some point. But I appreciate you having me back.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, everybody. We'll have a great rest of the week as far as what's coming up in the future. Looks like Essential Credentials on Friday, and then on Saturday, I don't know if he's announced it yet, so I'm not going to say who it is, but somebody that a lot of people look forward to hearing from in the hobby. He's asked me to come on his show, so that should be fun. Hopefully I can show some love to this amazing community on Instagram while I'm on there, and yeah, I'll let you know about that when it's announced. So have a great night, everyone. Take care. Thanks again, Chris.
Yep. See you, bud.